Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and while you're at it, click the bell to be notified of future videos. This block is called Stella, and it is 2 pages of instructions. Here is the diagram. Here are 4 blocks put together, and because we have the triangle and square unit together with a half square triangle unit, it gives this illusion of curves. So it's one of those really fun quilts to make. Before I show you the patches, down here, this block is part of the Riley Blake 2021 Block Challenge. And if you're online, you can click this code, or you can scan it if you have printed it out, and it will take you to the instructions for this block. But I'm going to give you instructions as well. So here are the patches. The first one, patch A, is a 2-inch finished square. We cut 2.5-inch squares. We need 4 patches for the background and 1 patch for the orange color. Here are the AccuQuilt dies that will cut these patches. Patch B is a 2-inch finished half square triangle. We have 2 options for cutting and piecing the half square triangle. The first is the patches. You'll cut 2 7/8-inch squares, cut each square in half on the diagonal once, and you'll get 2 patches. And if you are using AccuQuilt, you are cutting patches. You'll need 12 patches of the background, 4 patches of the orange fabric, and 8 patches of the green fabric. Your other option is to make half square triangles 2 at a time, and in this case we don't subcut the square. We'll cut 2 7/8-inch squares and do not subcut them. And for this method you'll need 6 squares of the background, 2 squares of the orange, and 4 squares of the green. And we'll show that technique later. Patch C and C reversed and patch D are the triangle and square patches. For this we're using the Tri-Rex tool. You can use another tool if you have it. You'll need a 2-inch finished triangle and square. So we'll cut 1 strip at 2.5 inches times 10 inches, fold it in half with the wrong sides together, and you'll use the Rex tool to cut the rectangles. And we'll need 4 sets of rectangles. Patch D, we use the triangle ruler. We cut 1 strip at 2.5 times 9 inches, and then we cut 4 triangles from that. If you're using AccuQuilt, here are the dies you can use to cut both of these patches. Patch E is a 3/4 inch by 2-inch finished rectangle. We'll cut 2.5 inches by 1 1/4 inch rectangles for this one, and we'll need 8 patches. These go in this little unit here. Patch F is a 1/2 inch by 2-inch finished rectangle. We'll cut 2.5 inch by 1 inch rectangles, and we'll need 4 patches of the dark blue fabric. Now let's look at the fabrics. Patch A, which are the squares, and the squares we have in the 4 outside corners and the 1 center. Patch B, we're going to make 2 at a time half square triangles with this. These are the patches for the triangle and square. Here are the triangles, and here are the rectangles. When we cut the rectangles, we'll have 2 in a set, the left side and the right side. So we'll have 4 sets of those. And this is patch E and F, and this makes that unit on the side. And we'll go through each one of these separately. Page 2, step 1 is to make the half square triangles. We'll make 4 of the orange ones and 8 of the green ones. If you're not familiar with the method of 2 at a time half square triangles, stay tuned for a short tutorial. On the back side of the light fabric, draw a diagonal line, put the fabric's right sides together, stitch on either side of the diagonal line. Here is the diagonal line drawn, and then the stitching on both sides. Now we cut this in half along the diagonal line. Then we have our 2 half square triangles. Press the seams open and cut off the nubs. For step 2, we'll take the half square triangles we just pieced and we'll take the background A patches and make these corner units. We'll put 2 like this, the A patch here, and then the other half square triangle here. Lay the units out like this, so these 2 together, then these 2, press, and then sew the 2 rows together, and you'll make 4 of these. 4 corner units are done, and we'll put those off to the side. Step 3, we make 4 of the triangle and square units. If you're not familiar about how to piece these, there's a short tutorial coming up that shows you how to piece these if you've cut with the Tri-Rec tool or with the AccuQuilt. To piece the Tri-Rec unit, you turn the piece over like this, and that little notch you cut out, you're going to line up with this edge of the triangle. So you have your notch lining up that edge, and then you have your side lining up with this edge. And we're going to start our stitching here and stitch a 1/4 inch all the way down. When you stitch it, your stitching should start right at this point here, and this should be a 1/4 inch here. So we've stitched all the way down to the bottom, and then when we open it up and press the seam open, it will look like this. This nub up here you have to cut off because it just gets in the way. If you'll notice down here, there's also a nub here that you can cut off, and this little angle for the rectangle fabric is sort of cut off a little bit, and that's just fine. It'll work out just fine. Now we take our other side, which is this, and we do basically the same thing. We're going to match down here, match the where you cut off the little blunt edge right here along this line, and then match the long side here, and we'll start stitching here. If you can see where this V is, right at that point should be your 1/4 inch, and you start there and stitch a 1/4 inch all the way down, and you should come off right here at this where this blunt edge was cut off. Here are 2 of them finished. This is what it looks like before the nubs are cut off. So you have a nub down here, and then the last one up here. So you trim those off, and here's what it looks like trimmed off. These little curved edges, it'll be taken up in the seam allowance, and then those are finished. The dies have cut off all the points here. This gives you a way to match up for your piecing. So we'll take this first one and flip it over. I'm matching this cut here and this edge. I usually start with this one because it matches better. This is at the tip of the triangle. So let's match this here and then match however it ends up here. Then I'll start stitching at a 1/4 inch and then finish stitching a 1/4 inch down here. This is the bottom part, the part that I matched first, and you can see the stitching comes out almost right on that point. And up here, it doesn't really match any point here, so just be sure you have a 1/4 inch when you start stitching. Now I'll press it open. This is pressed open. This is the bottom part of the triangle, and you see this white part, or the side part, comes out just a little bit, but that's okay. And then the top part comes out. They meet together at the edge. This is how the piece goes. So we'll flip this over. Now you're going to match the top part of the triangle with this part right here. So match that there. Match the straight edge here and the edges here. Stitch up here, start here with your 1/4 inch. And here's what it looks like. This is even across the top here, and that point is right at your 1/4 inch. And then down here, you're off a little bit with your 1/4 inch, but that's okay because we did the same thing over here. So now we will press the seams open. And here is your finished triangle and square unit. And you'll see that this white part, or the side part, comes out. It looks like maybe 1/8 of an inch comes out on the side. But don't worry about that. It will be taken up in the seam allowance when you sew this unit to another piece. The triangle and square units are done. We'll put them to the side. Move on to step 4. We'll piece these units here with the E and the F patches. We'll just take 2 of the E patches and 1 of the F patches. Sew them together just like this. Press the seams open and you'll make 4 of these. This is called the stripe unit from step 4. We're going to use that. And the triangle and square units from step 4. And the last patch A square to make the side units and the center unit. This is step 5. We'll start with the side units. Take a stripe unit and a triangle and square and piece 2 like this. For the center unit, we take the dark patch A, we take 2 stripe units, place them like this, and then the last of the triangle and square units and place them like this. And you'll make 1 of these center units. All we need to do now is put the block together. Start with these. Sew the top units into a row and the bottom units into a row, then press and sew the rows together and the block is finished. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and while you're at it, click the bell to be notified of future videos.